I'm so glad to see all of you guys. Good morning from warm and muggy Louisiana, where we're sliding backwards, and I'm getting angry about it.
Are the numbers going up in Louisiana?
Yes, unfortunately. And New Orleans was doing really, really well. And the rest of Louisiana was just a mess. We have a really good, very kick-ass mayor here. She won't take shit from anybody. She's very tough. And unfortunately, the governor came in and had to shut down the bars again because it's the bars. And, you know, we're a bar culture down here. I don't go to them, but everybody else does. And try being in Dallas. Oh my God, you people in Texas, I feel for you. Oh my God, it brings back, I get PTSD listening to it because there was a good 6 weeks in Louisiana. And remember, we just started here. We don't even have a GP yet. We don't have doctors here yet. And there was a good 6 weeks where I had to say to Jeff, like, we can't get sick, like nothing. There's nobody here to help us. There's no beds. There's no hospital. You can't go into the hospital. I mean, it was 6 weeks of hiding out, like hiding out in your new town. It was really scary. And we got through that. So I figure we can get through anything. There's Courtney. So anyway, hello, everybody. Hi, Nina, Kate, Katie, Claudia, Sarah, Christine, Renee, Cindy. Cindy, good. All right, you're here. Andrea, Deborah, Rebecca, Bridget, hi, Trisha, Maggie, Robin, Christine, Trudy, Danielle, Tanya, Catherine, Meow, Deborah, Sandy, Linda, Amy, Karen, awesome. Liz, Rhina, Sue, here we go, Jean, Karen, Kathy, Helene, Diane, Rhina, Courtney, Melinda. I think we're almost getting there.
Yeah.
So
Catherine says she's here for the first time from Toronto. Welcome, Catherine.
Good. Who else is new? I would love to see who else is new because I know a lot of people are bringing friends and having them join in. So if you're new, say hello to everybody, because we all want to welcome you in too. So that's great. Good. Well, Nina, awesome. You're our newbie. Should we haze her in this one? Okay.
There's no hazing on Positive Morning.
She's new. Okay. Oh, good. Sarah's a first timer too. Okay, cool. Great. Well, greetings to all of you. For those of you who have not been here before, I'm Lesley Jane Seymour, and I'm the founder of CoveyClub. And here's Wendy, Perrotti, and Dana Hilmer, who are going to run this show today. And there are amazing Reinvention Coaches. And I'll just let you know that we're in the process of doing some deep dive marketing with some of you and with some of our best customers. And this Positive Mornings is really what is coming up as the thing that everybody loves most so far about what we're doing. We started this at the beginning of the pandemic. We were doing it every day, I think, for 2 weeks. We just knew we had to do it because people needed to connect, and it was such a crazy time that everybody's heads were frying. And it's really turned into something that is really wonderful, where you can come and you can share, you can be yourself. It's a private group. If you want to meet each other afterwards, you can go privately and ask for each other's emails, which I encourage you to do. And because it's all about connection, and it's all about being honest, being real, and being great women at this time of life where we're trying to figure out what's next for all of us. And that could be a job, it could be changing your lifestyle, it could be with your family, it could be all kinds of different things. Change can be big, it can be small. And really this pandemic has forced all of us to rethink how our lives are going to go. So anyway, I will come back on at the end. What we're going to do for the first time in this one, which we're really excited about, we're going to do some breakout groups. So if it doesn't go exactly the way we hoped it would, bear with us. That's kind of what's fun about Zoom and about what we do is the dog can jump in, the termite guy can show up at the door in the middle of everything. So it's really fun. And then maybe your breakout room doesn't work the way you want, but hopefully it will. Let us know what you think. And I'm going to turn this over to Danny and Wendy. Now you're going to become a joint.
I kind of like that.
We'll get one of those names, right?
Danny, Wendy. Okay. Take care, guys. We'll see you at the end.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to have so many new people here on Positive Mornings. And because we've got a bunch of new people, I'm going to sort of preface what we're doing today. It is a little bit of a different spin than we've done in the past. We're going to break you out and give you an opportunity to sort of practice some of the things that we've been talking about with one another. And it's a bit of a departure because we're here to start our day and to start our weeks on a positive note. And for months now, we've been delivering tools and having conversations around how we shift our mindset, how we shift our energy, how we engage with one another in a positive way. And these are difficult times. That positivity does not mean that we're turning a blind eye to the reality around us. And it has been crystal clear over and over and over again throughout our calls that we're having really difficult conversations out there. And for many of us, the ground beneath our feet feels like it's shifting while we're having them. We don't know what the rules of engagement are. And Dana and I talked about this over the weekend. We experience it too. We teach this stuff and we experience it too. It's hard to have conversations right now about things that are aligned with our values, about things that feel really meaningful to us. And last week, we started a conversation about what would a perfect world look like? A really juicy, positive morning topic. And we got some amazing, amazing ideas and stories and conversations going. And it flowed into that difficult conversation about what's stopping us from being there right now, or what's stopping us from feeling like that's a possibility right now. And so what we've put together for you today is an opportunity to practice having those kinds of difficult conversations in this safe space with one another. And so we're going to do it in breakout rooms, and then we're going to come back together and we're going to just dive in. This is a no rules game. We're playing with this together. Okay, so don't worry about what's wrong, what's right. We're just all trusting one another and we're playing with this together. We're going to show you a quick video to start out with. This is from a show that is several years old. It was actually taking place during the last election. And it's we're going to show you a bar scene where three people actually are discussing politics. If you have young children in the room, or if you are offended by profanity, there's a couple of F-bombs in this short 3-minute span. So please feel free to turn your volume down while the video is playing. You'll get the gist of what's going on. We want you to listen for the opportunity to use the tool that we gave you last time, real talk, rhetoric. We don't want rhetoric. Assess the energy of the people that you're talking about and your own when you're having these conversations. Assume positive intent and listen. So without further ado, I'm going to share this video with you and then we'll dive in. Oh wait, I don't have to do that part. I just hit share screen. Can everyone see my screen? And Dana or Lesley, you'll let me know if there's a problem hearing.
Yep,
yes.
good.
Yes, please. Yes. Okay. So can you send the new cards? Because that's the whole thing, is that we need the cards.
You conservatives are trying to find something in Hillary's emails because you have nothing real to say about her. You're incapable of a real debate. Yeah, well, the problem with you liberals, you think you're the good guys. You think that gives you a pass to do random criminal acts. You know, I saved an owl and I'd go kill a baby. That seems like You must know that's not true.
It's kind of an interesting thing, the way you guys define yourselves and each other. Liberal, conservative. How would you define a liberal? Like to you, what is a liberal?
Just PC, fucking fake animal rights, gay agenda, always pushing the liberal agenda. They hate Christians and they hate white men. You know why? Because they don't think it through. And they think they're better than everyone else and that they should tell everyone else how to think. They're just fucking assholes.
Okay. How would you define a conservative?
Just Jesus everything, and they hate gay people and racist, but pretending they're not, and they're selfish, and they only care about money, and they think everyone has to do their conservative Christian shit.
See, the fact that you start out by seeing each other like that, I mean, how could you possibly ever respect each other or agree on anything?
Yeah, well, they do that. I don't. You just said you do. You just described us with a string of insults. Just like you did. Yeah. Well,
Okay. This is getting interesting. Now, you define conservative.
Conservative means values, having values and sticking to them and defending what's right, not just saying what somebody said is right that year. You know what I mean? There's things in this world are right and wrong and always have been. And you have to respect where this country came from. You have to hold on to that. And the fact that country and God and life, those are all sacred things. And people should respect each other. And government is there to facilitate, all right? It's not there to control people. And the way you get the best out of people is to make room for their strengths, not by overcompensating for their weaknesses.
That sounds reasonable. That sounds like something most people could respect, right?
Yeah.
Now, define liberal.
Just being open to things outside yourself, having your eyes open and thinking about others, and being aware that our planet is precious and we're responsible for that. And people need to listen to each other and be decent and tolerant, and that a diverse community is a strong community. And sometimes a little guy needs a hand, and we're a strong enough country to do that, so we should.
Okay, how's that sound?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you start by taking his definition of himself and he starts with your definition of you, don't you stand a better chance and have a better shot at getting to some sort of consensus?
Who said they want that? They're not trying to reach an agreement.
Okay, we're back. Are we back?
Yes, we're back. All right.
Are we back?
Sorry. Guess we should get a clue from Lesley. I think we're back. Couldn't we all use that guy in the middle sometimes in our conversations? So today what we're talking about is what we can do to bridge a gap or kind of create a bridge, in our conversations. All too often, and this is what's happening in our country right now, there's so much polarization, right? Where people are in completely different camps, they're digging their feet in, they are not gonna budge, and they are not going to see another perspective. There's a huge amount of polarization in our country. So instead of taking an us versus them perspective, we wanna take the perspective of understanding, seeking to understand, not necessarily agree, not necessarily convincing somebody of your way, but to understand one another. And so that is really what we're going to focus on today. To do this, it requires some vulnerability, right? We need to enter into conversations. If we want to create this kind of bridge, we need to enter in these conversations with a bit of vulnerability, because we know that our ideas may be shot down. Even our making this attempt to bridge and create an understanding may be shot down. And if we're really entering into a situation where we're trying to understand, not persuade, but understand, we're also risking that our perspective may be changed, right? That might be a little bit scary as well. So again, bridging is not about persuasion, it's about understanding. And so what I want to do is just kind of go through some of the things that we can do when we find ourselves in these conversations and we want to try to seek some understanding. And the first thing that we need to keep in mind is, if we're going to create this kind of bridge, it starts with acknowledging that each one of us are human, right? We all have our own values, we have our own needs, we have our goals, we have our worldview. And as Wendy talked about in our last call, we all come to conversations and situations having positive intent, right? We all are trying to do our best. And so if we acknowledge that whoever this person is that you disagree with is coming to this conversation with positive intent and with their story, with their view, with their values intact. That's an important thing to keep in mind. The other thing is just to recognize that your truth isn't the only truth. Their truth is not the only truth. And that there's a huge amount of, you may be on either end of the spectrum here. There's a lot of gray in the middle, right? And a lot of different perspectives in the middle. So no one truth is a truth. And so and to recognize that you don't have all the answers. None of us do. So as we enter into one of these conversations, again, we want to assume positive intent, but we also want to focus on the individuality of the person. So instead of focusing on the group or the camp that person happens to be in, they're the liberal, they're the conservative, they're the immigrant, they're the white person, they're the religious person, they're the, right? We tend to put people in these groups or camps as to how we perceive them. We put them in a little box. What we need to do is view this person as an individual, take them out of that group and speak to each other as individuals. Also to understand their values, right? And to approach a conversation from a place of understanding what their values are and sharing with the person what your values are. If we can approach a conversation knowing that and being able to share what we have to share through the lens of how it may relate to the other person's values or why it's important to you, the conversation will be much more productive. The other thing is to listen, of course, with compassion. We've talked about in previous conversation, listening with kind eyes. And that is so powerful to truly listen, because all too often we enter conversations, first of all, knowing what the other person's going to say, right? We tend to already know what that person's going to say before they even open their mouth. And we're formulating our retort, right? So if we're truly listening with kind eyes, we are listening, we are casting aside judgment, we are not preparing our retort, we are listening and taking in what they have to say and being completely present with them. And then after that person has a chance to express themselves, then we can formulate what it is that we want to share. So to truly listen with compassion, to listen with kind eyes, and to be that listener that is kind of like on the edge of their seat, waiting to see what unfolds, right? And of course, to ask questions, because through asking questions, we can seek understanding, right? Asking questions and waiting for the answer, not asking a question, looking to kind of, find the hole in the other person's argument, but to ask a question and to really listen to what that answer is. And of course, as we enter the conversation, and this will be part of our conversation today, is to listen and be intentional about, are you showing up to a conversation with the intention of understanding, or are you showing up with the conversation with the intention of persuading somebody, right? Again, creating a bridge is about understanding. It's not about persuasion. So with all that said, what we're going to do is a fun exercise. Again, we hope this works technology-wise, but we're going to be splitting you into groups, and each one of you will be in a group of approximately 5 people, and you'll have, what time is it? You'll have about 10 minutes, I believe. For some reason, I don't have my watch on. You'll have 10 minutes to have a conversation about what we're going to prompt you with. So what we're going to ask you to do is just spend the first minute of your conversation together deciding what hot topic you like to pretend that you're exploring together. And I say pretend because we're not diving in and having a debate or having the conversation about the topic. We're going to be talking about how would you approach it if you were in this conversation. So the topics that tend to be the hot buttons for most people are politics, race, money, and religion. So as a group, pick one of these topics. This should take no more than a minute to say, okay, we're going to focus on this particular category of topic. If you find another topic category, have at it. So that's the first minute. And then what you're going to do is you're going to talk about how can you create a bridge with this topic. So first of all, what's going to get in the way, right? There may be things getting in the way, and that's something as a group you may want to talk about, right? Again, there's polarization on a lot of these topics. So you're picking your topic, let's pretend it's politics. What might get in the way of having a good conversation about this? So by the way, we'll put these questions in the chat for you. So that's the first part of your conversation together. The second part of your conversation together is how would you handle the conversation if you wanted to create a bridge? So how would you handle this conversation on this hot topic if you wanted to create understanding with each other? So this might come down to the type of questions you may want to ask, how you may want to show up to the conversation, right? So there's certain things that you can do, again, to create understanding. What are some of those things that you would do if you wanted to have a productive conversation where you're seeking understanding? So I think I gave you all the information. Wendy, if there's anything I forgot, please chime in. But what we're going to do, again, is put you in the chat. I'll put those questions in the room. The goal is, again, is not to seek understanding on a topic yourself, but to put yourself in the situation where, okay, I'm going to have a conversation about this hot topic. How would I approach it if I were to seek understanding? So that's the goal. And then we're going to come back to the group and we'll have a conversation about what showed up for everybody. Sound good? If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Marissa's going to put you into rooms. You will be in a room, again, with approximately 5 people. And you'll have 10 minutes to have a conversation, and then we'll bring you back. All right?
Okay, Wendy and Dana, do your thing.
Yeah, so why don't we start? Dana, do you have a question, or do you want to just have people come in and let's have a report back from the groups?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll have conversation around what they report back.
Perfect. Let's, who put me in the chat if you are one of the reporters from your group or somebody who has something that you want to talk about. Katie.
So I don't forget everything. So we chose politics. And one of the things that came up is that, so I don't know what the questions were, but we were trying to figure out how to, make the bridge. And one person was saying that it's a lot easier to construct the bridge when people can explain their points of view. I think this goes back to last week's point, is fact versus rhetoric. But when people can explain their point of view, it's much easier to create a position of understanding. If people are just standing their ground without any, backup information and just spewing stuff, it's very hard to embrace. And then, we sort of left, and my group, please chime in if I'm forgetting something. These are my takeaways from it. The real issue is how to create a level of respect when you deeply disagree with somebody. And, that's really hard, because sometimes in any situation, you can disagree so profoundly with someone and feel that their issues are so off base that it's very difficult to respect it. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to, if you want to make a bridge. You don't have to agree at all. And I gave the example, and I'm sure Steve will know this, because I'm a big football fan. And I follow certain players on social media, and there's a retired player, Ben Watson, who's incredibly eloquent. He's an incredible writer. He's has deep family values. He has so many good values. He's deeply religious. He's got 5,000 children, and he's incredible. He's staunchly anti-abortion and actively anti-abortion. And that's like crazy for me. But, we exchanged once, and I was like, I'm with you on so many points, but I can't join you on abortion. I respect where you're coming from, but I can't agree with it. And he's like, that's what we need. All I need is for you to respect what I'm saying. You don't have to agree with it, but if you can hear me, so people being able to explain how they feel eloquently, intelligently, which is not easy, helps to create a bridge. And learning how to respect that's the hard part, when you deeply, deeply disagree with somebody.
I love that. Thank you, Katie. You know what? let's go through each of the rooms and get everybody's feedback, and then we'll open up and try and have some time to have a discussion. So next is Christine.
Okay, so I think our conversation was a combination of talking about how to have the conversation, but I also feel like we just jumped right in and had the conversation, which was really cool. We talked about race. So we talked about it in the workplace, and Danielle had shared, and my group, please jump in if I got anything out of context, because I was scribbling like a maniac. Danielle works for a university, and as an administrator, she said it's difficult to hear things when you feel like you're being accused of certain things, but that it's very important to step back and try to understand why people feel this way. Karen had talked about it from a personal level. We talked about having elderly parents and having the conversation of race come up. And I had mentioned that it had come up in my family as well. We're talking about different generations, and do these generations get a quote unquote pass? Like you'll hear comments from an elderly relative, a parent or grandparent, and you say, oh, well, that's just a generation. So we talked about that. That was very interesting. Karen also said, while individual feelings are important, we're looking for larger change, like on a larger scale, if that makes sense. Karen, I might not have gotten that exactly right. So we talked about generation bias. Miao, being Chinese, had a very interesting perspective, which nearly brought me to tears, where she said the world looks at China, that China is to blame for COVID, and that there's animosity toward an entire race. So I had asked her how she feels about being out in the world like this. And I said, granted, we're not all out in the world in our regular everyday situations now, but still it's got to be hard. And she thanked me for recognizing that and said the issue is multifaceted, it is complex, and she's participated in a bunch of online forums where they have basically said you need to stand up and speak out. So I thought that was pretty powerful. I think that might have been it. If I forgot anything, guys, please let me know. But I was very happy to be a part of this. This was a great idea. For as how many minutes we were in it, I don't know, but it was great. And Lesley, it did feel like we were at a conference and we left and went to a breakout session. So that was great. Thank you.
And thank you, Christine. That's fantastic. Kate Brogan.
We were cheaters because we had Dana in our group, so she gave us all the questions. So we chose politics as our topic, and similar to what other groups have said, asking questions is critical. Asking questions about what the other person's concerns and motivations are, to try to establish that common ground. And one of the things that came up, which I think we're all sometimes guilty of, is, are we giving nonverbal cues? You know, are we doing things like, and, you know, rolling our eyes and doing other things that might, without words, be creating distance? So what my takeaway on behalf of the group, I hope I'm accurate, is it's being really mindful of what messages we're sending out. And one thing, Mandy in our group, she is in a government position and has to maintain neutrality. And I have to say, hats off, because that's a real discipline, to be able to just be neutral in the face of some really distinct different opinions. So.
Thanks, Kate. This is so juicy. This is also juicy, you guys. I love what you're bringing back to the table. Cindy.
Hi there. So we chose as our topic, no surprise, politics. And specifically right now, we said that's obviously such a big topic. Let's drill down on what exactly it is about politics that we're feeling is so hot right now. So we're saying, we started out by saying, well, politics isn't really about politics right now. It's about something deeper. It's about human beings. And if we look specifically at the United States and Trump and COVID, we're talking about being compassionate toward each other, versus being individuals. And we're also talking about this being very broad in terms of accepting people. We're looking at social/racial justice, location, and the idea there are symptoms of our culture that are showing that we really need to address. And so this was kind of where we were coming from the idea of politics being so hot. And then we each talked about different things that maybe trigger us to have certain feelings and how we're dealing with it. So one comment was made that about trying to live our own values without judgment. I'm sorry, I was scrambling to take down notes, so I didn't put everyone's name exactly to who said what. And then another comment was made about coming, the person who made this comment said she's coming from a place of zeroing people out and doesn't really think that that's the right thing to do, and it's not really comfortable with that, but that's sort of a safe space that's non-harming, because ultimately you can't change nor want to change the opinion of others. So that's maybe not the best place to be, but kind of a landing spot. And then someone else mentioned knowing people that, well, the idea of like surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you're not really going to know what other people think. You're always going to stay like in your own little vacuum. So someone is talking about something that's going on with them is just going to get that reinforced, or not any kind of like a counterpoint to that. And then there was another comment about media, and that there's so much information and/or facts out there, it's really hard to know what to understand. So we kind of had these little side bits to add to our kind of frustration with this topic. And then I think the one thing that we landed on in terms of your first question of how to have a good conversation is pay attention to the language. Because language, either if it's words or buzzwords, people really respond and react to that. And that can lead to misinterpretation and reaction right off the bat. So we're saying, really think about speaking specifically and being conscious of specific words, because for some people, they just blurt out whatever they want to say. And while perhaps their feelings or intentions come across, for some people, they hear a certain word or words and it immediately sets them off and they can't really hear anything else, or they don't make that leap to, yeah, I know what they mean. A word will trigger somebody. So we talked about being conscious with how we speak, literally in terms of trying to pause and recognizing, obviously that's really hard, but if you could just pause for a second, either the person's going to go on and you're going to have an opportunity to learn and hear more, or you can actually calm yourself down if they're triggering you to kind of come back in a much calmer way. So take a breath and try and remember in that moment that this is a moment of respect between people. And in that moment, maybe ask ourselves, is there a point of common ground here? Again, during the conversation or while you're making that pause. And then one of the last things we said was coming back to intentionally seeking the opinion of others and asking questions like other people had said here. So going out of your way to not just be surrounded by like-minded people, or not just be stuck in like a news cycle, and kind of just ask more questions like other people had said. So I think language was one of like the key things to explore, but then these other things just, interrelate. And if I forgot anything, someone in my group, please jump in.
Oh gosh, we're having so much good. Wow. And so funny, Cindy, we talked the other day, actually a couple times ago, about how words create worlds, right? Our language, the language that we use, creates complete worlds for not only ourselves internally, but for how we express ourselves to other people. It's just, all of this is amazing. So who's next?
Stephen, I'm not understanding your comment. Number 7, whoever wants to speak can. Are you
Oh no, I wasn't saying I was representing us. I wasn't the one taking the notes. We just didn't say who was going to do it.
Did anybody represent group number 7?
Courtney says she can do a quick wrap. Is that it?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Courtney.
All right, I know we're running out of time and a lot of people want to say things, so I'll do the quick one because that's my job. Speaking of media, like quick wrap. Speaking of media, the first thing we did is that I volunteered to out myself as a journalist in the group, and then said, I always feel like it's a scary vibe when I'm like, hey guys, I'm a journalist, but I'm actually a nice person. Please. That's what I deal with every day. And then Trish is in Florida. And she had to cancel her trip to Connecticut for the summer. And Andrea's daughter is home and wondering if she can be a teacher again this year in New York City or even be able to go back. And Cynthia's been able to have a conversation with her sister-in-law and her brother, who are both Trump supporters. But her adopted niece is Asian and is really feeling a lot of people are asking her, where do you come from? And she's really uncomfortable, and it's really, it sounds really, really bad. And then we basically talked about our own politics and our family's politics. And Andrea said, I'm a Biden supporter, children in cages, you know, I can't believe this. And I was like, well, so how do we actually go from that to talking about this? And Trish spoke a lot about her husband, who is a real devout Republican, devout. I didn't mean to use a religious word, but you know, Second Amendment rights supporter. But she grew up with a mom and dad who basically, she said the dining room table was a war zone because her mom was extremely liberal and her dad was extremely conservative. So she said, people I love dearly are Trump supporters, and that she loved the little clip of how people see themselves. And Andrea said her closest friend is a Republican. And every 4 years they decide to just agree to disagree. So everybody was having conversations with close family members who they love, who are Trump supporters. And we just talked about how there's not a lot of civil discourse and it's hard to have these conversations. But I think everyone was talking about coming from an individual and personal point of love. And then lastly, we didn't leave enough time for Linda. In the very American way, we shut the Canadian out. We've already apologized for that. Linda was about to tell us what her viewpoint from Canada. And of course we were like, oh, we ran out of time. So it would be nice to hear next time, but I just thought, wow, that's so American to not listen to Canadian. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, all of you. There's so much meat here and we're really at time. So I'm looking at the things in the chat. It seems like you all got so much out of this. What I'd like to do is wrap here and let Dana and I have a little bit of time with these points. How do you respect someone when you disagree with them? It's hard to have these conversations when you feel accused. Stand up and speak out when you are in the minority or when you feel like your opinion or your values are not being held. Nonverbal cues, being mindful of what we're putting out there, even when our own intention is good. The ideas of compassion and justice and paying attention to our language in the conversations that we have. We talked about that a couple of times ago. Seeking out the opinion of others, right? And I love that we are missing, we have so many people from other parts of the world here, and we're sort of missing that input. So I think we can use what you gave us here to construct our conversation for next Monday. And if everybody's game, I'd like to be able to do that. I think we can learn a lot here, and we're a large group. We can spread this out in the world. So in lieu of a tool, I actually had one, and I'm not going to deliver it because this stuff takes practice. And so instead of giving you a specific mindset tool this week, I'm going to suggest that we all lean into the tool from last week. Let's practice having these conversations wherever we are. Unlike the clip that we showed you, social media isn't moderated. Our conversations with other people are not moderated, and they're kind of devolving into playground bullying and name calling. And it's going to take practice for us to have the kinds of conversations that we're talking about here out in that world. So let's all practice this week having conversations that intentionally don't use rhetoric, that really pay attention to our own energy and the energy of others, where we're assuming positive intent and where we're really listening. Let's practice and come back together next week and have a conversation about all these points. Lesley.
I just want to say one thing, Wendy, as someone who lives on social media because of my business. I don't think that there really is any way to moderate those conversations.
There's not.
I would suggest to everybody, work on your conversations with other people, not in social media. You're not going to, I just listen and I ignore it. You're just not going to get anywhere. So that's futile.
Yeah. I will say that I think we have the opportunity with the people that we know and love
maybe with those people.
To have those conversations on social media and give an example of what that looks like and how that's different from what's out there. But I agree with you. Going at it with strangers, it's fruitless. It's fruitless. It just fuels the fire.
Right, and it's quite nasty. So it just ruins everything. So.
Okay, so 2 minutes, we'll do a really quick meditation today and make sure that Lesley has some time to wrap. But I think we could all use to let go after these real big conversations. So get yourself comfortable in your chairs. Close your eyes if you like to. This particular meditation will work best if your eyes are closed. And start to draw your attention into your breath. Very simply, no special breathing today. Just notice as the air comes in and out of your body. Work to pull it a little bit more deeply with each breath. Draw that air down into your belly and exhale it fully. And as you do, I'd like you to direct your attention now to your body. Notice where you feel any stress or strain. Notice if you have any kind of an illness or problem or issue in your body right now. I want you to simply notice and don't judge your body. Notice it with complete neutrality and allow your breath to go to those spaces and to nourish it. Allow yourself to love those spots and spaces in your body that feel out of alignment, that feel like a challenge, that perhaps you have been at odds with. Allow your breath to soothe, to soften each muscle, your tendons, your ligaments, your organs. Let your breath flood your body with love, with acceptance, and with peace. As you absorb that into every cell of your body, you can bring your attention back to your breath. And on the count of 5, we'll open our eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. That was good for so short. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, and thanks for experimenting with us. I think that was fun. I hope you all loved it. Tell us what we could do better in the chat there if you think we should do something else, though, you realizing this was our first one. And we will get the instructions in there. We'll have those prepared. I just wanted to tell you about today, how to keep fear from...
It's 9 o'clock.
There goes my daughter. 1 second. How to keep fear from holding you back with Melanie Curtis is at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, which is really fun. She's the, she teaches people how to skydive, and she also works on fear coaching, which is great. I think you'll enjoy that. And then remember, Wednesday at 2 p.m. is Power Boost Your LinkedIn. This is a great person who works at LinkedIn. I know a lot of you really want to know how to use that system better, and it really can help you. It can help you position yourself for jobs. It can help you find jobs. I think it's something like, before the pandemic, it was something like every 11 minutes somebody got a job off of LinkedIn. And I don't know what the number is now, but I think it's still very high. And then we have a great mindful leadership, which is a really interesting thing coming from Susan Purvis, who teaches, again, these are people who teach like really this outdoor crazy stuff. She's the one who goes to avalanches and pulls people out of avalanches and finds people who've been long buried and all this stuff. And she and her partner teach mindful leadership about how to ground yourself first, kind of like what we're doing here, and then how to put that out there in your leadership. So I think that's going to be great. That's Monday, July 20th. There's a bunch of other stuff. Look at our email. We have How to Boost Your Immune System with Jackie Justice, who's a fantastic nutritionist. And we're sort of exploring different areas. So be sure to look at the website, go to CoveyClub.com and look at all the attend things and make sure you're on our mailing list for Letter from Lesley, and it's all there. Thank you all. I want to get you out the door. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll play more. And my goal is to get you all to know each other a little bit better. So if you see somebody you like, you're not stalking them, you can email them, or you can, say hello or meet them on LinkedIn or whatever. So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Dana. Good job.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
I also want to chime in to a couple people asked for the video clips, so we'll send that to Lesley so she can share with everybody.
Great. We'll put those all out. Bye, guys.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.